Alright, we will take the play, we will keep the hand, our mana is fine, and we have Windfall and Hinata, which sounds like fun. We even get to play the Hall on 2, everything's perfect. Opponent plays a vehicle, vehicles die to Abrade. That might be too many windfalls. Skyclave Shade, okay. Well, they missed a land drop, which actually makes me feel like I should just play Hinata, because it's probably going to be hard for them to kill the Hinata, and it blocks. Opponents figured out my greatest weakness, which is that I am just such a coward. Alright, opponent. I was so ready to take that damage, but I couldn't think of a single card that they could have that made the attack make sense. Land Mythic for 1. Yeah, but like, I still don't actually think that's terribly bad for me in that position. Like, they need to have something that deals... So they could have had land play a 1-drop zombie thing, and then the card that sacrifices the zombie to make a treasure and draw 2 cards and give -1/-1. That would have actually been like a way for them to recover tempo. But if they just go land Meat Hook, I'm still so ahead on tempo that I don't even really care. I need to get used to like where the new mute button is at, because I am not currently experiencing the reflexes necessary to mute that in time when I need to sneeze. Parasitic Grasp. Parasitic Grasp wouldn't work, because it would cost 4 mana to hit a non-human with Hinata in play. Hinata taxing stuff that targets is taxing the casting of stuff that targets, which is why that random 1-drop zombie that gives stuff -1/-1 when it dies wouldn't cost more, because the trigger that it creates isn't actually the casting of a spell with the target. What am I supposed to put in against this deck? Presumably like a bunch of Behold the Multiverses. And then we like trim some Windfalls and some Gambits. Play more Behold the Multiverses. Could play Egg, I guess. Do I want to play Egg against Mono Black? Is that a good idea? I should probably play Lier. I should probably not play Fading Hopes. I get the feeling that I'm supposed to play Smoldering Egg, but I don't know. It does block well. And then eventually transforms. That's sort of like being a threat. Alright, well, I'm going to keep Spikefield Hazard plus a ton of Expressive Iterations. Why Behold over Windfall in this matchup? Because most black decks tend to sideboard into resource-based hand hate game plans in addition to just aggressively threatening you. And Windfall is acceleration and card selection, but it is not raw card advantage in the sense that it undoes getting hit by a Mind Rot. Take a look at the deck list. Alright, help me remember after the match. With the high Soul Ripper? Sure. I wonder if I'm supposed to hold a Valorous Stance there, on the off chance they sack something to Soul Ripper. It denies me Expressive Iteration next turn, though, which is kind of rough. Yeah, not being able to be discarded to foretell is kind of a nice deal. It also makes it a lot more convenient to foretell it and then Galvanic Behold, which really shuts down the whole mind rot you to death game plan. I think I'm actually willing to discard the Magma Opus here for a little bit of mana advantage, given that I have all these Expressive Iterations. Alright, we can put Behold in hand. I think we can play Hall as our land for the turn. Trespasser, Soul Reaper. Alright. Definitely the part of the game where I'm regretting not having eggs. That's for sure. Okay. I could let it flip to night so that I can Valorous Stance the Graveyard Trespasser. Not terribly exciting, but possibly the correct thing to do. I think I don't want them to be able to hit me with it, and I suspect that they will hit me with it otherwise. I actually want to let them attack here, because there's nothing in the graveyards that I really care about graveyard gluttoning exiling. And if they choose to sack something to the Soul Ripper, that's a huge deal for me. Opponent not so kind. Alright. Well, playing around that possibility was important. Now I regret that I didn't foretell the Behold the Multiverse. Feel like I probably have to get rid of Galvanic Iteration here. Oh no, that was super good with Abrade, and we had the opportunity to draw Abrade. Oh well. We're in danger. I don't think I have particularly many hits here that are good enough. Nope. Okay. Alright, so yes, definitely should have brought in the eggs. Bring in the eggs. Debate Fading Hope. Cut the rest of the Windfalls. I don't actually need to transform the eggs particularly fast. Oh, I super need to remember that I have negates in the main deck that I need to cut. Wasn't even thinking in that sense. Okay, I'd probably rather have Thundering Rebuke than Fading Hope, I think, against a deck that might board into Hand Hate. Still really uncertain on the Seismic Waves. Guess you could have stanced the 4/4 pre-combat, let them sack it since you can stance the vehicle, or does the pump only happen when it attacks? It only happens when it attacks. And also, I was going to have to use Galvanic to double stance, so I wanted both creatures to be 4 toughness at the same time. This hand is pretty bad. If the Sundown Pass was an untapped land and let me foretell Behold the Multiverse on turn 2, I'd probably be inclined to keep this. But, yeah, I don't think I can keep that. This hand, however, also sort of sucks, but I guess at least it's doing something. Or at least it's aspiring to something with the Magma Opus, at the very least. There's a possibility I'm supposed to play the Sundown Pass on turn 1 there, but I'm nervous that the opponent could duress me and take the Jwari Disruption if I do. But we didn't top deck an untapped land, so it didn't really matter. I'd like my opponent to just play creature threats here. Yes. Perfect. I really needed Magma Opus to be a land so that I could just jam Hinata next turn. Okay, Infernal Grasp works. I lose some damage, but eh. Alright, I take some damage. Lose the ability to prevent some damage. Oh, yeah, the missing land drops is gonna be brutal. We're gonna have to fix that real fast. Okay, no removal spell for the opponent. Presumably they play threats then. Okay, we try to draw an untapped land. We fail. Rough. Okay, pass the turn. Taking a lot more damage than I'm comfortable with. Taking a lot more damage than I'm comfortable with. Cycle Magma Opus, draw land. Okay, play Hinata. Hope we don't die. Not dying is the plan. Not dying is a very important plan. I would really like to not be dead. And I would also like none of my creatures to be dead. Pretty good chance we win this if they don't kill us here. But... oh my goodness, I think we can win this. Alright. Oh, Kiba Reckoner Raids is a horrifying magic card that is going to put us very close to dead. That's terrifying. Okay, well, what if my goal was to just try to kill my opponent? What if that's what we were gonna do? Okay, so I can clear the board, tap down all their lands. Am I supposed to kill the Sorin? Probably? No, I'm probably supposed to go with their face, right? I can put the Sorin to 3. That really isn't meaningful. No, I think I have to attack the Sorin.
Stay your hand, mortal.
Because I'm in sort of an awkward spot if they have a removal spell for the Hinata in response to this Galvanic. They don't. That's a good sign. Alright, so 1, 1, 1, 1. Tap, tap. Uh-huh. This one does 1, 1, 1, and 1. Tap, tap. Alright. Clear the board. Draw another Magma Opus. That's helpful. Oh, I shouldn't have given them the eye twitch and trigger until the other Magma Opus resolved, so I should have, like, targeted Sorin twice, but it doesn't well, yeah, I guess it sort of matters. It lets them draw into a removal spell before that mana's tapped. But could be worse. Alright. And now we can Magma Opus... oh, no, we can't, because there's white mana. It doesn't cast Magma Opus. Woo! Alright. Copied Magma Opus is still pretty fun. Do you need 4 targets on the copy because of the original? Yes. You have to choose the same number of targets and the same damage distribution for those targets. So, like, if I choose to deal 2 damage, 1 damage, and 1 damage, well, that's not really. If I deal 3 damage and 1 damage with 2 targets, then I can't choose the copy to deal 2 damage and 2 damage. I have to deal 3 to something and 1 to something else. It kind of surprised me that there aren't any Cinderclasms or Burn Downs in the 75. Do you find they're just not needed? So far, that has seemed to be the case. I've never really been a fan of Burn Down the House at all. Like, there just weren't matchups. There did not exist matchups, I felt, where it was particularly valuable. If my opponent is playing a snow green-white deck, I don't think I care about Spikefield Cave. Or they're not. Okay. Well, I thought they were going to be a Abzan deck, but now I'm not so sure. Cinderclasm is a good card, and I don't necessarily have any problems with that, and it might even be a card this deck wants to play. I have been playing, what is it? Seismic Wave in that slot, because it costs 1 mana with Hinata, but doesn't hit artifact creatures with the mass 1 damage mode. I'm not certain. Oh, okay, I know what our opponent's doing. I'm not certain whether that's worth playing it over Cinderclasm or not. I'm mostly just breaking the tie because I want to experiment with the thing I'm less familiar with. Our opponent's probably on a 5-color Kami War Saga deck, and they play the Snow Forest basics because then they can fetch any missing color with, what's the name? Binding of the Old Gods. Or not, I have no clue what's happening at all. Never mind. I thought that was a good explanation, but the opponent has denied me that. People are reluctant to spend wildcards. For all the folks out there who have the old Alrund's Epiphany decks crafted, this doesn't actually, like... It takes, like, the 4 wildcards to play Hinata, and I think that's it. So I think this is actually a pretty easy deck to jump into if you were the kind of player who actually enjoyed playing Epiphany. Would have traded Disruption for that treasure? Maybe. I mean, I think there's the possibility that I could wind up trading Disruption for an actual card on a future turn. Especially since I didn't have a 3-drop play lined up anyway. Don't forget all the white lands. Oh, that's true, that's true. I had already messed around with playing Jeskai Epiphany before that. So, to players who don't have all of the non-basic lands, changing the colors up is actually a cost. Well, that's pretty bad for me. This time it is worth Jwari Disruption to get rid of the treasure, because otherwise they get to put a counter on all of their creatures, and I don't want that. Ironically, not having the Spikefield for that Innkeeper has turned out to be an incredible problem. Also, not having the white source here is a pretty big problem. 9. Alright, so they need to play 2 creatures to kill me? Alright. We find ourselves in a precarious spot. What do you think about Invoke Calamity in a shell? What spells would you really need to be played to make it worth it? I don't know yet. Alright, well, that's 1 creature. I was really hoping they weren't going to have a 1-drop. Alright, that's not lethal, correct? Is in fact not lethal. Okay, Abrade is extremely not helpful. I regret not keeping the land. If I had, the Abrade would actually be sort of helpful. How am I going to handle this? Not well, that's for sure. Because the Valentin has Menace? Am I just not capable of surviving here? I can deal 1 damage to everything and make a blocker and tap down 2 things. I guess I can tap down the Voice of the Blessed and the Valentin and then jump block the Lisette if they don't have a way to give it trample. Okay, cool. I'm extremely happy that they didn't play that as a creature, because if they had played it as a creature, I'd be dead. Okay, my plan involved tapping that down anyway. So damage here, damage here, damage here, damage here. Yes, I'm sure I have to tap Hinata. I want to tap down Voice of the Blessed and Valentin. That makes Opus cost 2. Gets rid of everything that can actually kill me. If they'd equipped Sword to Prosperous Innkeeper, I would have lost my Hinata on blocks here. And that probably still would have made me lose this game. So I guess the Sword still had the potential to be backbreaking, but luckily they put it on the wrong creature. The Blue March is interesting, and I do actually sort of think it might be worth playing over Fading Hope. I should probably test it. I think it's worse than Fading Hope, but getting the experience to tell whether that's the case or not is probably going to be worthwhile. All right, now I think we can actually win, because we have untapped with the ability to cast double Magma Opus for like the next 2 turns in a row, which probably gets there even on 1 mana. I suppose that means I should start killing my opponent, huh? No, too much risk. They could have Emperor, exile Hinata. Not something I can accept right now. Yeah, I got 1 life and 5 mana, but that's all I need, right? This is totally a fair deck that we're playing. 2 Magma Opuses that's actually 4 Magma Opuses. Maskwood Nexus. Okay. Sure. Now explain what that means, opponent. Alright, I would like to Galvanic Iteration. I would like to Magma Opus. I would like to damage here, damage here, damage here, damage here. Yes. Would like to tap this and tap... actually, I don't need to damage my elemental, do I? Because we're getting a copy here. So I can damage that, 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 and that. And then tap Voice and tap Treeline. No, Auto Tapper! Last time you had this correct, but this time you didn't, and I didn't pay attention to the fact that you changed for some reason. Alright, sure. I kind of wanted to hold up Abrade, but I guess this is fine. Okay, so damage, 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 damage. I guess I don't need to tap Valentin, but I should probably not risk it if the opponent has some way to protect it. Wait. Oh. Weird. Should have tapped down Lier. Why didn't I? Oh, because I can block it. Right. Okay, well, let's bounce Lisette. Because apparently Auto Tapper... I mean, I was still going to leave up Fading Hope, but Auto Tapper got saved from its own silliness. Let's see. I guess I can just kill them? Is that how that works? 5 times 4 is frequently 20, I think? Yeah, that works. I can't oh, yes, I can. I can't copy Magma Opus, but I can target their face directly. I do have enough mana for that. Whee! 20 damage is fair! Wilson 14,201. Thanks for subscribing. I appreciate the support. So is Not a Just Guy going to come out as tier 0 and make the meta boring, or does it have enough competitors unlike the old Epiphany deck? I don't know. I mean, a lot of that has to do with what decks prey on it, and I think that it is probably a lot more vulnerable to interaction than old Epiphany decks. since you do have to have Hinata in play. I don't feel like I understand this deck well enough yet to actually make a good call on that, and it does kind of depend a lot on what kind of interaction other decks can play. Green aggro is probably your worst matchup? Well, I don't know. I think this deck might not actually have a terrible time against green aggro, because Magma Opus is actually a much better mainboard plan than anything the previous Epiphany decks had in Game 1, unless you were willing to just main deck whatever that 7-mana giant that bounced everything was. It was like, that was the best thing you could do against mono green. And if you had 3 copies of that as Is It, you just were very favored against mono green. Meteor Storm is gas in this list? What does Meteor Storm do? Red and green. This isn't standard legal, is it? Oh, Meteor Swarm. Okay. What are we playing against? Green-white stuff. Do I change anything? Nah, Dex looks perfect. Triple red X. Meteor Swarm deals X damage divided as you choose amongst X target creatures and or planeswalkers. It's like, it's 4 mana, triple red, kill something. 5 mana, triple red, kill 2 things, and then after that it gets worse. I feel like this kind of suffers from the same problems as well, this hand looks awful, so I guess we have to mulligan. This hand looks bad, so I guess we'll have to keep. I think we actually get rid of an Unexpected Windfall. It's only 3 with Hinata on the board, but again, I think that it's very important for your cards to be functional without Hinata. And I don't think that it's good enough with Hinata to actually justify being pretty bad without Hinata. It's not kill any number of things, because you have to deal the 8 damage divided. It's not deal 8 damage to any number of targets. So if you target 3 things, you're only doing like 3 damage, 2 damage, and 3 damage, which isn't actually very much damage. So, Shatter Skull Smashing, that's the card I'm thinking of. It's pretty similar to Shatter Skull Smashing, honestly. But I'd rather be playing Shatter Skull Smashing, because then you can play it as a land. But I'm not playing Shatter Skull Smashing, because the opportunity cost of playing that over a land isn't... I mean, I guess I would rather play 30 lands with Shatter Skull Smashing than 28 lands with Meteor Swarm, probably. Yeah, probably good in Hinata Brawl. I think that you get to build the deck a little differently if you're actually reliably having access to Hinata. Whereas, if you're building the deck for Standard, I want to be able to beat an aggro deck even if I never draw a Hinata. Alright, well that changes my plan immensely. I no longer particularly want to cast Windfall this turn, which was the plan. What about Draconic Intervention versus aggro and all the discard we have? We don't really have that much discard, because bear in mind that you probably want to play Draconic Intervention on turn 4, so you need to be discarding something expensive before that. Which, you know what? I'm willing to throw away this Magma Opus so that I can Galvanic Windfall next turn. I'm crazy enough to do that. I don't think my opponent's going to play a blue source and counterspell me. So I've tried Draconic Intervention before because the Exile Clause seemed interesting, and it's just way too unreliable to actually have something in the graveyard to exile with it. Yeah, you have to do stuff like play Prismari Command, which comes back to the, well, then you're playing Prismari Command, and that's not a great card, and if you draw it without drawing the Draconic Intervention, then you're playing like 2 suboptimal cards in your deck that need to be combo pieces. You have to go through a lot of work, in my opinion, to make sure that your deck is good when your combos don't show up in the right combinations. Which is why there's so much effort that goes in under the hood to a Galvanic Iteration list of making sure, alright, I need to have a huge number of cards that Galvanic Iteration is good with so that it is bad and useless as rarely as possible. I'm uncertain how many cards have Foretell, but that seems like a lot of cards in Abzan that apparently have Foretell, which is strange. Alright, well, we're not really doing anything currently. It's a little concerning. Those might be Doom Scars, that's true. I could spend one treasure to loot here. Do I want to do that? Probably. Am I going to regret getting rid of this Spikefield? No, I've got 2 Abrades. I'm not going to regret getting rid of a Spikefield. But I am ready to eat my own words. Have you been finding any Hullbreakers? I'm hoping they're starting to fade out. I mean, I feel like Hullbreaker sort of faded out a while ago. There's this weird, like, trend of calling Hullbreaker Horror, like, the scary thing in the metagame, which is weird to me because I've never actually seen a deck where I thought Hullbreaker Horror was good. It wasn't even, like, stellar in, no. The only spot it was good was Is It Mirrors, and against mono green. But, like, yeah, it's definitely not super popular anymore, and it lost Divide by 0, which was its best friend. I could Iteration Alchemist's Gambit here. I don't really want to, though. So I'm just going to turn it back to day and loot away an Abrade, and then turn it back to night and loot away something. I want an Alchemist's Gambit copied when I have a follow-up, and I'd also enjoy spending fewer treasures on it if possible. Against mono green, it was worse Cyclone Summoner, yes, but it was like a halfway point. It was a Cyclone Summoner that wasn't embarrassing to have in your main deck against the mirror match, is basically why it was played. But you would prefer to have Behold the Multiverse if you were going to play mirror matches, and you would prefer to have Cyclone Summoner against green. I like the White March. The Orzhov matchup versus Wedding can be tough. Does the March do anything against the Wedding Invitation? I don't think so, right? I feel like I would rather have Negate than Abrade in this spot, probably. I still can't tell what my opponent is doing. I still can't tell what I am doing either. Opponent is doing Hollowed Haunting, maybe. I mean, they definitely were a life gain deck in game 1, but I have no clue what they have foretold here. Like, it has to just be a pile of Doom Scars. And maybe Starnheim Unleashed? Would I guess makes sense? March hits creatures, artifacts, and enchantments, and not planeswalkers. It doesn't hit planeswalkers? Why do people keep telling me that card's good? I'm really not seeing it. I don't know. If the White March is good, it's good for some reason that I'm totally missing. Prismatic Ending and the White March are comparable in the sense that, like, Path to Exile and Banishing Light are technically comparable. They sort of do the same thing, but one of them actually does it for an amount of mana that's acceptable and the other doesn't. And it kills Oven for 2 mana, much like Abrade. Kills Trail of Crumbs for 3 mana, which is, like, sort of acceptable. I think that it's better in Historic, but I have no desire to play it in Standard or Alchemy. I don't feel like I need to Alchemist's Gambit yet while the opponent's just sitting on a bunch of mana open. Ew, that's gross. I guess I just play Hinata and then get Hinata killed. Sorry, Hinata. Sacrifices have to be made in the name of card advantage. How do you feel about alchemy and digital-only cards in general at this point? I feel pretty happy about it. Well, I guess I can bounce Hinata, because I have a Fading Hope. Right, that actually is a synergy that I missed. I never really had a problem with the idea of digital-only cards, and I definitely don't have a problem with the idea of a format that gets balance adjustments faster than a paper format. But I am aware that that is because I am a highly invested player, and I am not one of the folks who gets punished by that in any meaningful way. There's a big question of what its impacts on the state of the arena economy is, and that's a much bigger conversation than just like my opinions on how does the format play, because the format plays great. Yeah, okay, I'll bounce another. The format is everything I want, because I'm the kind of person who enjoys changing metagames. So, like, I would be totally fine if there was sweeping bans and rebalances every month, and everything was totally new and weird and confusing. That'd be fun. Very bummed at how good Orzhov-based announcement decks are. Completely invalidates almost any deck that plays to the board. I wouldn't be too worried about that going forward, because I don't actually think that the white-black Orzhov decks are very good against any of the go-bigger Galvanic Iteration decks that I think are going to become more popular because of Hinata, both in Alchemy and in Standard. With the new announcement that they're going to add a paper-compatible Eternal format later this year, I have a little reason to spend more on Alchemy. I confess that sort of confuses me, because I don't actually understand in what way there is an appeal to a paper-adjacent format. Like, Alchemy sounds more interesting to me than Standard if I'm already playing online. And Historic sounds more interesting to me than Pioneer. I want a format where things change faster and do weird things. Like, if I was practicing for paper events, then I would understand, like, wanting to practice Pioneer. But I am still of the opinion that things changing more rapidly makes for a more fun play experience. Because not everyone likes the idea of rebalances. Yeah, no, I get that. I do understand the sense that I am kind of in a, I guess, privileged position, in the sense that, like, the economy aspect of it isn't a big deal to me, which is more about, like, already having invested time in it and not being in a position where I particularly have to be mindful of my finances. But once all else is equal, I find rebalances to be more fun. And is it weird to say that, like, to just go, I think other people's opinions are wrong? Because if I want to be incendiary, I can definitely say just, I think people who think that super stable formats are more interesting are like, if I wanted to be incendiary, I'd just say that's wrong. I think that they are mistaken in their impression. But different people have different desires. Some people want to play modern and not have their deck change for 4 years and just keep playing the same deck, and they value the stability of that, and I don't think that they want to play particularly often. I want to play formats 100 times a week, and so the idea of stability is, like, caustic to my brain. I feel like you haven't read a single word I said. I haven't, to be entirely fair. And I don't mean that in, like, the sense of, like, trying to belittle your points here. I just mean to say, like, it's hard to talk and be an entertaining streamer and read nuanced stuff at the same time. And also play this game, which I am still trying to do. So I apologize in that sense. Play Arena specifically to escape the rebalances in other digital card games? Well, I guess I don't know necessarily how to avoid that. I don't think formats with no rebalances actually lead to a more enjoyable experience. I can understand not wanting too many rebalancing things to happen at any given time. But the idea of keeping a format, or the idea of getting a format balanced correctly the first go around, I think is a lot more impossible than a lot of people tend to respect. Like, what's the right way to put this? People hold up old Magic at different time periods as being like the golden days where stuff was balanced and power creep didn't ruin the game. And I kind of think that's just sort of a silly position to have that isn't really respecting the reality of the way things were. Formats don't really get balanced, or don't really get unbalanced because of pushed cards being busted. Formats get horribly out of balance because every format ever has some way that it's going to eventually get out of balance. And it's just a matter of how long and how many hours does it take the players to figure that out. I don't think there's ever existed any format that would have remained anything short of utterly broken in the context of the amount of time that digital clients with a large player base and access to a bunch of information create nowadays. Did that animation mean you paid for cleave? I assume that's what that animation means, but that's actually the first cleave spell I've ever cast, so I don't know for sure. Arning, thanks for the subscription and the follow. I'm glad you're enjoying the stream. Would you rather hardcast Magma Opus or have Magma Opus cheated against you? I mean, if my opponent casts an 8-drop, they probably should win. Unless I'm also playing an 8-drop. I do see the point that having two versions of a card that you have to remember what they both do with the same name. Alright, well, we're on the play, so I'm willing to just keep a hand that does nothing, because it's got a Magma Opus. When I hear Fires, I think of Fires of Yavimaya, Blastoderm, and Saproling Burst. Well, we have that new Fires of Yavimaya, right? Like Hot Springs of Yavimaya or whatever. I should probably get around to building that deck at some point, because it looks cool. I'm not sure exactly what my sequencing is supposed to be here. I'm assuming I'm supposed to cycle a Magma Opus for a mana advantage, since I got nothing else going on. Don't really need two Magma Opuses. Okay, so my opponent's on Naya Runes, I'm assuming. In which case, yes, I would like to accelerate a little bit. More expressive iterations. Okay. Alright. So we have to be mindful of the fact that we do not have a huge number of Magma Opuses left in the deck. Until we shuffle, we have one left in the deck. Catilda Runes. Interesting. Runes tends to be Jeskai more than Naya. What's the blue for? I assumed green was for the 3-drop that draws cards whenever you have an enchantment ETB. Okay. Well, now we're doing some Windfall nonsense. Jeskai Luca had a 63% win rate across all of WotC data, which is why it got banned. I don't remember Wilderness Rec doing that well against it. So, yes, that's sort of true. That at a general level, Jeskai Luca had a good win rate against everything. But there are a lot of decks that take a lot of time to learn how to play well. And I think Wilderness Reclamation is one of the decks that most stretched that point. You had to really understand how to play Wilderness Reclamation. It's sort of like the precursor to the phenomenon we saw with Dimir Rogues, where it's so easy to make so many small mistakes with the deck that just really punish you. That you saw a lot of players playing super suboptimally. And players didn't really start like developing resources to play Wilderness Reclamation better. Or like, pro players didn't start making a lot of content, I guess is another way to put it, that made it easier to pick up the deck until after everything else got banned. Ooh, Hollow Hunting's cute. Okay. I wonder if I should have abraded the Kami of Transience. I kind of want to just let the opponent attack me if they can't actually kill me, so that I can just Galvanic Opus, or Galvanic Windfall. But if they do threaten to kill me, then I gotta do other stuff, which is sort of a bummer. Alright, well, I guess we gotta do other stuff then. Beginning of each step of enchantment was put into your graveyard from the battlefield this turn. But you're not an enchantment. You are, however. Okay, well, then I think, regrettably, we're just Valorous Stancing Catilda and Kami. Channel lands are better than Uro/Oko. I am still of the opinion that I don't think the channel lands are actually all that good and that they're kind of getting overly dramatized. But that's a weird conversation of nuance. Like, if you want to call them strictly better basic lands, then yeah, they're like sort of better than basic lands sometimes. But I don't know about like strictly better necessarily. I like basic lands. I don't like getting strip mined when I get hit by Field of Ruin. Okay, that's fine. I'm pretty comfortable with my opponent making a ton of spirit tokens here. Because I'm gonna, like, have a Magma Opus anyway. I could even set up for double Magma Opus. That'd be fun. I wonder if I should have killed the Jukai Naturalist on my end of turn. I probably should have. I thought I was copying Unexpected Windfall, but now that I'm actually realizing what's going on, I don't think that I'm doing that. I mean, I guess I could just take 2 damage here. Oh, hello. Never mind. New plans. We are no longer copying Magma Opus. Might as well just kill this Jukai Naturalist then. I don't think I care about anything else. Oh, I could have killed the Spirit Cleric and then wiped out the other 2 Spirit Clerics with Magma Opus. Maybe that mattered more to me than killing the Jukai. Might have been more correct. Maybe Maybe I should have got rid of the Abrade. No, I didn't know that I was going to have the Alchemist's Gambits. Not making his land drops pretty rough, though. Yeah, I wish I had this Jwari Disruption right now. Quite a lot. Never mind, we're fine. Blow up a spirit, untap. Oh! Alright. I love my deck. Alright, go to the opponent's upkeep. Cast Galvanic Iteration. Cast Galvanic Iteration. Cast 3 Magma Opuses. Damage, 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 damage. Tap that, tap that. And then we're going to deal damage and damage and damage and damage. And we're going to tap that and this. Okay, we're done. Well, that was fun, wasn't it? Drawing Galvanic Iteration is pretty good. Greasefang turn 3 is the new Lotus Field, ban Parhelion. Maybe we just start playing Abrade, though. I don't know. Doesn't Greasefang seem kind of removable? But maybe in the current environment, players aren't playing enough removal that actually interacts with Greasefang. But like, I don't know. I have not played a ton of Historic yet, but I have a difficult time believing that Greasefang couldn't get answered if the metagame wants to answer it. Maybe we're all going to go back to playing Scorching Dragonfire. Could you imagine? For that matter, does Grafticker's Cage shut off the Greasefang combo? It's not really viable for aggro decks to build around always having instant speed removal up on turn 2. Oh, because Parhelion isn't a creature, right? Cute. I feel like aggro having to do weird things to beat combo decks is not a new circumstance, though, is it? What am I, like, actually playing against here? Enchantment Nonsense Tribal. I feel like I'm supposed to cut Fading Hopes and play more Negates and like a Thundering Rebuke then? Maybe? I don't know. Just play Graveyard Hate? Yeah, although it's tough to find the right combination of Graveyard Hate for different decks. I mean, I guess Soul's Guide Lantern is already like omnipresent in the format in a billion different decks and does sort of just kind of hose the Greasefang plan. I guess the question is how redundant can you build a Greasefang deck around Soul Guide Lantern Hate? I don't know. I'm gonna keep this because it like has a bunch of lands and I like making land drops. Hey, cool, more lands. Economy of Transience? Oh no. That might be inconvenient. Rune of Might. I would love... Ooh, so fun little gimmick here. Rune of Might doesn't enter the battlefield and then go to the graveyard. It actually fizzles on the stack. So our opponent doesn't get their Kami back off of it, and also they don't get the draw from Rune of Might. Isn't that cool? I like that. Is Auras real in Standard? I don't know. I haven't seen a version of the deck that looks good yet, but that is a statement about what I have seen so far, not a statement of what the deck could or couldn't be. Probably should have Spikefielded that. No, opponent, shouldn't you have put that on there, your creature, so I could, you know, kill it in response? You're just willing to give up the +1/+1? So rude. Well, I do think I Spikefield this. I will forever complain about my opponent not giving me enough value. I could jam Hinata here. I kind of feel like I'm not under enough pressure to warrant doing that, though. And I feel like my opponent probably boards into spells that exile Hinata. You know, Banishing Light stuffs. So I feel like just saving Hinata so that I can super effectively cast a Magma Opus off the top is probably better. No, we're kind of just buying time. Not truly being pressured yet. Feel like I'm willing to use an Abrade here to buy myself more time. Does my island have trample? I believe only if it becomes a creature. Yes. It does not currently have trample or +1/+1. But will if I animate it. Okay. Kami's annoying. Jukai Naturalist is annoying. Alright, well... could kick Alchemist's Gambit here. Suddenly my opponent put a lot of power onto the board very quickly. 9... I could just jam Celestus and loot. And then try to set up for Galvanic Alchemist's Gambit next turn. Provided they don't remove my Celestus, I guess. I don't think they can kill me, especially if I gain a life. I don't know what I'm looting away, though. I guess technically Hinata? Yeah, probably Hinata. Which is probably going to tell the opponent that something's up. Hopefully that does not result in them deciding to aggressively go after Celestus. I suppose they'd probably think that I have multiple Hinatas, is the most likely conclusion. I could jam Hinata and Celestus, but then I'm not looting. Which I think I kind of want to do, because I do want to try to hit this land drop so that I can set up Galvanic Alchemist's Gambit. I mean, I still have to top deck something, but it gives me an opening to top deck something. Alright. 2 draws, plus some Celestus activations. Seems Goldspan is better than Hinata in your current build. Nah, Hinata has been pretty busted. I'm very confident that it is a super good card to have. Goldspan, I'm not sure exactly what its position, or what its use is, necessarily. Ooh, yeah, Unexpected Windfall is, like, the best draw. But I can certainly say Hinata is a much better blocker than Goldspan Dragon. Oh, hey, cool, Alchemist's Gambit. I think I'm supposed to loot away Jwari Disruption here, because then I get to loot again. Ooh, Expressive Iteration is fun. I don't think I cast it now. Alright, I would like a Galvanic. No, but we get a Magma Opus. Okay, well then we can get rid of Expressive Iteration then. Land isn't a Magma Opus, how unfortunate. We play Sundown Pass, I guess. Can I Gambit, Hinata, and Magma Opus. 3, 6, 7. Hinata, Opus for 3. Which lets me kill their 2/2? Well, I guess if I Alchemist, Gambit, and Hinata, then I just don't Magma Opus here. Is that fine? That might be fine. I might not need to, though. I'd kind of like to Gambit after playing the Opus, so that I have more chances to draw into Galvanic. I don't think there's any point in looting with Celestus because I really want both of my cards right now. I'd like to kill Jukai Naturalist. And I guess deal 1 to my opponent. No. I actually want to deal 1 to the Kami. Because I'm going to get a 4/4 and I want to block the Kami with the 4/4. They might be able to pump it, but I'd at least like to chump block. Alright, then we get rid of both white sources. Which restricts their ability to play exile enchantments on the Hinata. Also, we can top deck Negate, that'd be cool too. Hey, Wilson! Thanks for gifting a sub. And congrats, Planeswalker Chris. I appreciate the support. Okay, so opponent plays not a white source. They get back the Kami from earlier, sure. I don't really want Unexpected Windfall because I kind of enjoy having the Negate. Opponent didn't play anything, so we get to loot anyway. Don't really need more lands right now. Don't really need this Hinata right now. Expressive Iteration is all fine and dandy. We'll take Negate, why not? We'll play a land, why not? Go to combat, swing for 4. How many spells have we cast this turn? 2, so it's going back to day already. I could Alchemist's Gambit here. I'm a little nervous. No, I mean, I'm going to get so many loots. I think it's acceptable for me to Gambit here. Even though I'm not really leaving myself with anything in hand. Alright. Expressive Iteration helps. Abrade helps. Okay. We take the Negate. We exile Galvanic Iteration. We cast Galvanic Iteration, we double Abrade the Kami, and then we start swinging for 4. Then the Galvanic's hiding out in our graveyard. We are definitely kind of just like doing a whole lot of everything, huh? And we'll turn it to night so they can turn back to day. Why not? I got infinity mana anyway. Yeah, I don't need lands. I just need 3 negates. I probably should have left up triple negate mana. Do I want an Abrade? I don't feel like I want an Abrade. I guess I kind of want to deal with Kami. Alright, we'll get rid of a negate. 2 is probably enough. Abrade was reprinted. Yeah, what was this printed in? I forget what set. We've had it for a while, though. I think. Jukai Naturalist. Okay. So I could Abrade both of those. Do I want to? I probably should want to. I think I'm supposed to want to. How much life have we gained? I think like 10 thus far. Vow. Okay. Alright, we'll pay 1 mana to Abrade that 2/2, and then also Abrade the Kami. Howdy, Desile. How goes it? Okay. Opponent gets some random creatures that are kind of tiny. Borrowed time. Oh no! That thing that I thought they might have this entire time. Going pretty well for me. Thanks for asking. Okay, so we can Thundering Rebuke something. Probably the 3/3. It's not really ideal. I'd rather activate Celestus and find a Magma Opus to win the game. Thank you, deck. Very polite of you, as always. Let's see. 3 damage, 1 damage. Ooh, we're still slightly not there, huh? Alright, well then I should probably wait. Does getting hit with O-Ring even matter right now? It matters in the sense that it, like, removes Hinata from the board, which is currently a clock on them, that I sort of care about, and it does make it more expensive for me to do stuff. Oh, yeah, we did have lethal if I got rid of the Thundering Rebuke instead of the Negate. That's a good point. I knew I had a plan that was supposed to be lethal there, I just forgot what it was. Yeah, I don't think I bother negating that. Catilda would be annoying if I couldn't tap it down, but I can, so it's not. Alright, Abona, you want to attack with everything? Make my life easy? Yeah, that makes my life easy enough, I think. Okay, no blocks. Oh, right, they make another... Oh, no, they draw a card. Okay, cool. For a second there, I was worried they were going to make another blocker, but this doesn't matter. Okay, damage there. Tap that down, tap that down. 3 damage on the lifelinker, holding up Negate. Should be fine here. Woo! Got there. Is the Hinata deck actually tier 1 or just fun? I've seen it around, but if you kill Hinata, it gets much weaker. If you're going to make a blue-red deck like that, why not just use Lier since to protect itself with Fading Hope? I am of the opinion this deck is probably tier 1, yes. Yes, Hinata is vulnerable to removal, but it also taxes the opponent to do so most of the time and costs them a lot of tempo. So it's not terribly difficult to set up situations in which your opponent removing Hinata is just totally fine for you. And honestly, for that matter, I think that... I guess that's kind of like saying, is Hero of Dominaria really that good if they can just remove the Hero of Dominaria? Well, sort of, if you, like, play into the removal, but there's a lot of... You have a lot of ability with this deck to just not play Hinata in spots where it's bad for you if it gets killed. Because it is still a control deck and it gets to wait to play its cards until the optimal time. I cycled the Magma Opus there because otherwise I was going to have to discard a card if I cast Expressive Iteration, and I just really want to cast an Expressive Iteration in a matchup that looks like it's going to be about card advantage. Yeah, I got enough red mana, I can play this on blue. Play Alchemist Gambit on curve, it's more optimal. Yeah, nah, not what I'm into. Alright, there's Hinata. Don't love that. I'm going to have to Valorous Stance it. I could Unexpected Windfall, but I don't think I can let my opponent untap with the Hinata. This is an example of a spot where I don't think my opponent super got an advantage by jamming Hinata as soon as they could. But I don't think that it went terribly for them either. It depends on what their follow-up is when I'm low on mana like this. They could have multiple. Yeah, that's possible. But... Alright, now we are slightly ahead. We have more resources and more mana. My opponent takes this opportunity to play the Magma Opus. So I am going to take that as an opportunity to Galvanic Windfall, which the opponent will need a negate for. Jwari Disruption. Interesting. I think I'm inclined to just let this resolve, then. I could jam my Windfall if my only interest was in getting more mana, but then I don't even have Negate up anyway, unless I'm willing to use 2 treasures. So I think I just don't bother. My opponent did go 1-for-1 with me here, but, I mean, Galvanic is kind of an inherent 2-for-1 just by virtue of it chilling out in the graveyard. End of turn Lorehold Command, huh? Draw 2 cards. Okay, well. They probably have another Jwari Disruption here, which is going to be sort of annoying. Yeah, that means I probably end up negating the Lorehold command then. Do I want to resolve the Windfall just to draw cards, even though it's going to set me back on mana to do so? I think the opponent has a small enough number of cards in hand that I'm comfortable waiting. It's unlikely they're going to have a hard counterspell. And they can't Magma Opus me yet. They're very far away from Magma Opusing me, so I don't really need to prioritize saving the Negate at this current moment. Okay. If the opponent passes through my turn, I'm probably willing to just Unexpected Windfall on their upkeep. Could get blown out, but it's the time where I'm least likely to. Okay, we find some lands and Abrade. Not terribly useful. Opponent still doesn't have any lands, is interesting. Magma Opus. Okay, well that could be useful. The Abrade probably is not useful for us, so I'm happy to Unexpected Windfall it away, probably once again on their upkeep. Unless they do something here at the end of my turn. Alright, once again, Unexpected Windfall, discarding dead cards on my opponent's upkeep, drawing cards that are moderately useful. Tapped land drop for the opponent. One more land drop now represents their ability to Magma Opus. And I'm willing to Expressive Iteration. I have enough mana to do that. Is Fading Hope likely to have any use here? It does clear out a Magma Opus token, I suppose. On the other hand, land drops. I'm definitely going to play Hall of the Storm Giants as my land for the turn, I think. I think I'll take Fading Hope. Probably a mistake, but I'm interested in seeing what happens. You're not likely to miss lands at this point. I am technically still sort of likely to miss lands, depending on how aggressively I try to resolve these Magma Opuses if I fail. But yeah, not super likely to miss lands, and also I think that we're at the point where it's not likely to matter if we miss lands very much. think I want to Magma Opus now. Because if I wait, my opponent's representing Galvanic Magma Opus, which would be concerning. Jwari Disruption, not very useful now that they're going to Magma Opus with 1 mana held up, but I do get to Fading Hope the 4/4. Oh. Alright, they don't even resolve a Magma Opus. Sweet. Celestus is interesting. Sort of encourages me to not make land drops for the time being. Do I turn it tonight? Yeah, probably. I don't think I want to jam Magma Opus if I can just loot instead. No need to give my opponent openings to counter things that I don't need to give them. We can probably get rid of Fading Hope. I do still want to make land drops because I can still use more mana. Mice rule. Thanks for the follow. Glad you're enjoying the stream. Prismari Campus, Scry 1. How the mighty Castle Vantresses have fallen. I could have also punched them with the Hall, but why do that when I can make my hand better instead? Aw. If I wanted to loot, I had to activate Celestus. It wasn't going to turn to night, because I cast the Celestus itself. Right, we can Unexpected Windfall, probably discarding the land. Hinata. Alright, that's a threat. Play lands, play Hinata. Okay, could animate Hall here. We're very close to just instantly winning the game if we find a Galvanic. The thing that I'm most scared of out of my opponent right now is them going Galvanic into extra turn, taking 2 extra turns, which I guess means I'm probably supposed to Magma Opus on their upkeep, which, as far as I can tell, I think means that I should animate Hall and swing. There's a lot of things my opponent could do here, most of which... awkward. I can beat... So they have 1 card left in hand. I could just Alchemist's Gambit. I guess if they have a counterspell for Alchemist's Gambit, then they're empty-handed, and I'm not actually that afraid of anything else from here. So I think I can play this. And then Magma Opus plus all the Storm Giants is lethal. I don't know if I actually have the mana to cast that, but... I mean... I can certainly do a lot here. Yeah, I think I'm still just supposed to go for Hall Swing, even though I don't actually have the mana to Magma Opus here. This does still give our opponent the option to Galvanic Time Walk, which might kill us. Well, I guess I have Jwari Disruption to handle 1 Time Walk, so they'd only be taking 1 extra turn. So it's actually fine. If they had 1 more mana, that would be scarier. Okay, so we swing with Hall, they pay 6, block, have 3 mana available after that. Wait, can I just cast 2 Magma Opuses? No, I'm 1 mana short. Bummer. Okay, I think we animate Hall, swing, they spend a bunch of mana, trade with Hall, go to 3 mana, so they can't do anything else that's scary on our turn. Wait, am I supposed to sorcery speed the Magma Opus here? Yeah, I think I was. I guess it doesn't really... Oh, yeah, to play around Jwari Disruption, I was supposed to do it after they animated the Hall. Don't swing. I do actually want to swing here, I think. Because it reduces their ability to play a 4-mana spell, which they could play Memory Deluge. But yeah, I was supposed to do the Magma Opus before swinging to play around Jwari Disruption. I guess I could have chosen not to swing to play around Jwari Disruption, but that kind of just puts us back in the same spot. Although it's not a bad spot for me. Okay. So, Hinata mirror matches, huh? I don't particularly want Abrade. I don't particularly want Fading Hope. I probably don't even particularly want Expressive Iteration. I definitely want Behold the Multiverses. I definitely want Disdainful Strokes. I probably want Negate. I think I can actually, like, trim Hinata and Magma Opus. And then, like, probably trim Expressive Iteration. And then I kind of feel like play 2 Smoldering Eggs. I should probably play Thundering Rebuke too. In which case I can probably trim Hinata more. I'm operating under the assumption this mirror match isn't about comboing. It's about just winning on card advantage. How come your deck list has a couple of basic lands instead of the Neo Legendary Channel lands? Because there are cards your opponent can play that make you fetch for basic lands, which I care more about playing around than the tiny benefit that the legendary lands provide. No red sources is pretty awkward, but we're making land drops for a while. Okay, well, we also can top deck red sources. That works too. I don't think there's anything I want to Jwari Disruption on 3. Like, technically I could Jwari Disruption Expressive Iteration, I guess. Do I want to do that? Versus Foretelling Behold the Multiverse, quite a bit stronger if we actually topped out Galvanic. No, I think I'd rather Foretell Behold the Multiverse. Yep, they have Expressive, but I still think that I prefer this route. One plays a tap land, sure. Happy to keep making land drops for the time being. I don't want to give my opponent an opening to resolve a Hinata since I don't have an answer to that. Malevolent Hermit is inconvenient. But we do have 2 Spikefield Hazards this time around. Alright, well, Behold the Multiverse then, which probably involves us discarding a hand size. Don't love that. Lack of a second red source or a third red source makes Galvanic pretty bad right now. Don't want Disdainful Stroke into Malevolent Hermit. Get the Galvanic Iteration anyway. Awkward. So we are discarding the hand size. Far less than optimal. Alright, well, I hate discarding Windfall, but I kind of have to do that in this spot. Definitely got to find some answers to Hermit. Optimal start would be Egg. Discarding a hand size, again, if I play Expressive Iteration, which isn't really acceptable. I think we just play Jwari Disruption then, and pass. Memory Deluge from the opponent, huh? Not what I was expecting their card advantage to be, but I guess they're probably just not playing Galvanic then, huh? Alright, well, that's worth negating to me. The opponent can resolve something with Malevolent Hermit. Hinata would be annoying. Do I negate the Expressive Iteration? I think I actually do. The opponent can push it through with Malevolent Hermit if they want. But I think this is turning into a fight over card advantage, probably. Hinata's awkward. Really light on red sources. And whoa, this is a weird hand. Oh, no, I guess it isn't, because I need to be able to cast something this turn, so I have to take the Spikefield Hazard as a land. So that makes the question whether I want to play the Thundering Rebuke to answer the Malevolent Hermit or not, and I think the answer is probably not. Did I board in all 3 eggs? I probably needed to into the potentiality of a Malevolent Hermit. I might need to find more room for Spikefield Hazards too. Ooh, the Unexpected Windfall is good if we find a 3rd red source. For the time being, we'll jam Expressive Iteration. Okay, that's excellent. Good hits, good hits, good hits. More red sources and Spikefield Hazard was like literally as good as we could hope for. I could jam a Hinata here. I don't actually have anything else that's better going on. The opponent probably interacts with that beneficially for them, which I'm not wicked excited about. But I can still hold up Spikefield Hazard regardless, but then they can Jwari Disruption the Spikefield Hazard. I think I'm still just supposed to run this out and get it countered. Retrieve socks. What? Disdainful Stroke. Okay, that's about what we expected. That was the objective of playing that in the first place. All right, opponent, you got your opening. What are you going to do with it? Hey, listen. Thanks for the gifted sub again, and congrats, Barubasaro. Yeah, I don't want a Spikefield Hazard until the end of turn. Alright, opponent, do you want to sack your Malevolent Hermit to deal with that? Yes, they want their Hermit to not be exiled. Fine by me. More Unexpected Windfalls, also fine by me. Can't really interact with this profitably, whether I windfall or not, so I might as well let it resolve first. Alright, we Galvanic. What are we discarding to this windfall? I wonder. Is the answer the other windfall? No, the answer is probably Hinata. I think that's a lot less useful. It means we have 0 Hinatas left in the deck, which is something to remember. Wow, both resolve? Opponent? For real? Oh. Okay. Well. In that case... Let's see... Taking off, kitty? Okay. Bye-bye. In that case, I kind of just want a Galvanic Gambit. Awful tempting. Opponent's going to untap with a lot of mana otherwise. Use 1 treasure. What happens if they just have 2 counter spells, though? I don't have a stellar follow-up if they just have 2 counter spells. I think I just foretell Behold the Multiverse and pass. Go for Galvanic Windfall on their turn. Unless they play something on the end of my turn, in which case I Galvanic Windfall on my turn. We don't have a lot of removal spells left for this Benevolent Geist, by which I mean I think we might have, like, actually 0. No, we have a Thundering Rebuke that we put on the bottom of the deck. Goldspan Dragon. Alright, well I guess I can Valorous Stance that. I could also possibly Disdainful Stroke it. So let's try to find the Disdainful Stroke first. Get rid of the Negate. That's not being useful anytime soon. Cast 2 Windfalls, make a bunch more mana. Magma... Oh, you know what? Magma Opus does frequently answer Benevolent Geist, doesn't it? That's fair, that's fair. Alright, Goldspan Dragon resolves. I'm kind of Not even of the opinion that I want a Valorous Stance the Goldspan Dragon, though, to be honest. Just gives them more mana after they counter after they counter the Valorous Stance. Well, I guess it gives them neutral mana, but I'm down too. Yeah, tell you what, opponent. This is fine. You can have 5 mana. I don't know that that's going to be enough for you. Geist only stops non-creature spells from being countered, so Goldspan Dragon is still counterable. Okay, I would like to Galvanic Iteration and not get Test of Talents did. Would be very polite of you to not Test of Talents me, opponent. Thank you. I would like to do that again. Thank you. I would like to attempt to take 3 extra turns, opponent. How do we feel about that? One extra turn. 2 extra turns. Oh, okay. Well, I guess I win. 3 extra turns. That's cool too. Alright, well, I'm going to go to my extra turn number 1, and we're going to play Expressive Iteration. Heady Flying. It goes pretty well. Pretty well. Put Behold in hand, cast Unexpected Windfall, discarding a land, make some extra mana because I don't have enough. Ooh, Smoldering Egg. I forgot I had those in the deck. Sweet. Alright, play... Oh, is this any non-creature? Only instants and sorceries. Okay, play Celestus. Play Smoldering Egg. Play Behold the Multiverse, so that we actually use this 1 extra mana efficiently. When you copy and play the cleave cost, do the copies get cleave? Yes. I do not need more lands currently. Alright, I would like to begin my second extra turn. I would like to play a Smoldering Egg. I'd like to play a Magma Opus, targeting my opponent's face and tapping down 2 of their lands. Actually, correction. Targeting my opponent's face and tapping down their treasure in a land, because the treasure actually represents 2 mana right now. I would like to transform both my eggs. A Negate! Oh no! Okay. Anyway. I would like to cast Behold the Multiverse and kill my opponent's Goldspan. Mostly just to rub it in. I could, like, send all his damage at their face and kill them, but I think I'm probably going to kill him anyway. Opponent Valorous Stances to give Goldspan Dragon indestructible. I mean, I could also Valorous Stance to kill their Goldspan Dragon. Yeah, I guess I'll do that. And then we'll target Geist in my opponent's face. Opponent does wind up with some treasures at the end of this. They can, like, use to protect Goldspan Dragon again if they want to. Nope, I guess they didn't want to. Okay. Oh, right, I had a Behold the Multiverse still resolving. Sweet. I would love to draw more cards. Hey, more Magma Opuses. Cool. Then we'll attack the opponent. It does damage, unsurprisingly. And we're going to play a land drop, and we're going to Magma Opus our opponent's face and tap down some of their stuff, and then do 4 damage to their face. Am I the bad guy? No, I'm the one casting Alchemist's Gambit, so, like, I think I'm the janky hero in this scenario. Oh, I see. I'm the person who you defeat the final boss, and the final boss just says, "You fool, I was holding them back."